Have you ever wondered where black people truly came from? In today's video, we'll uncover their origins through the Bible, exploring how Scripture reveals the story of black and African people from the very beginning of time. So, let's begin this fascinating journey. Long before borders and empires, there existed a people whose strength, wisdom, and beauty shaped the earliest chapters of human history. Their legacy is written not only in the sands of the Nile, but also within the very words of the Bible. According to the ancient texts, all humankind descends from three sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Each name represents not only a lineage, but an entire branch of civilization. From Shem came the Semitic peoples, the Hebrews, the Assyrians, the Arabs. From Japheth, the tribes that settled across Europe and parts of Asia. And from Ham, the vibrant, dark-skinned peoples who would populate the lands of Africa and the regions surrounding it. The scriptures speak clearly of Ham's heritage. In the book of Psalms, Egypt, called Mizraim in Hebrew, is referred to as the land of Ham. His descendants became the builders of mighty cities, the founders of kingdoms, and the keepers of some of the most advanced civilizations the world has ever known. Ham's name itself, in Hebrew and other ancient tongues, carries a deep meaning, often translated as warm, burnt, or dark. This poetic symbolism, rather than a mark of curse or shame, reflects the natural beauty and strength of a people whose skin mirrored the richness of the earth itself. Genesis chapter 10, often called the Table of Nations, outlines the family tree of humanity after the flood. Among Ham's sons were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, names that would become synonymous with entire nations. Cush, the eldest, is remembered as the forefather of the people of Nubia and Ethiopia, regions once known collectively as the Kingdom of Cush. From Mizraim came the Egyptians, whose pyramids still stand as sentinels of an enduring past. Put, sometimes rendered as Phut or Phut, became the ancestor of the peoples of Libya and North Africa. And Canaan, the youngest, fathered the tribes that would settle in the land later known as Israel and Palestine. From these four sons sprang countless generations, each carrying fragments of the world that once was. Cush's name would come to represent both a land and a legacy, one stretching across the African continent. The ancient Hebrews used Cush interchangeably with Ethiopia, not as the small nation we know today, but as a vast region extending far south of Egypt. These Cushites were known as skilled warriors, wise builders, and great traders. Their empires rose along the Nile, where they built monuments that rivaled even the grandeur of Pharaoh's Egypt. Among Cush's descendants was Nimrod, a figure both admired and feared. Described in Genesis as a mighty hunter before the Lord, Nimrod founded cities like Babel, Akkad, and Nineveh, the heart of Mesopotamia. From his story, one sees the thread connecting Africa and the Near East, two worlds sharing one bloodline. The Bible's genealogies reveal that Africa was never a footnote in sacred history, but a foundation stone. The Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Libyans all stem from the same divine lineage. Even in the prophetic books, nations descended from Ham often appear as instruments of God's purpose, demonstrating that no people were beyond his plan. Yet, through centuries, misunderstanding has clouded this truth. The so-called Curse of Ham, a misinterpretation of Genesis 9, has been wrongly used to justify prejudice and division. But Scripture tells a different story. When Noah awoke from his wine, the curse he uttered fell not upon Ham, but upon Canaan, one of Ham's sons. The text does not condemn Ham himself, nor his African descendants. Instead, it reflects an ancient family dispute, not a divine decree of servitude or shame. To understand this, one must see the story in its ancient light. In those early days after the flood, honoring one's father was more than custom, it was sacred law. Ham's indiscretion in witnessing his father's nakedness was seen as dishonor. But even so, Noah's curse was limited and specific, directed at one descendant, not an entire people. The tragic misuse of this passage in later centuries was never rooted in biblical truth. The Book of Jubilees, a lesser-known ancient text once revered in Jewish tradition, offers further insight into the lives of Noah's sons. It describes how Ham's family settled in the regions of Africa, building the first cities after the flood. Ham himself is said to have founded a city named Meltamlak, honoring his beloved wife. His children spread across the fertile lands along the Nile, the Red Sea, and beyond. Canaan, however, defied his father's instruction and settled in a territory meant for Shem's descendants, a land that would one day become Israel. This act, according to the book of Jubilees, caused tension among the brothers, for each lineage had been given its appointed lands. Ham's inheritance was the vast and beautiful continent of Africa, a land rich with life and mystery. Over time, Ham's lineage gave rise to civilizations that shaped the ancient world. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the monarchs of Nubia, from the traders of Carthage to the builders of great Zimbabwe, the legacy of Ham's descendants endures in the very architecture and spirit of Africa. These were not cursed peoples, but pioneers of human culture, masters of art, science, and faith. Mizraim, Ham's second son, established the great kingdom of Egypt, whose wisdom influenced even the Greeks and Romans. The Egyptians called their land Kemet, the Black Land, both for its fertile soil and its people. In Psalm 105, the Bible again speaks of Egypt as the tents of Ham, reaffirming this connection between Africa and divine history. Put, another of Ham's sons, is remembered as the father of the Libyans and the Berbers. Ancient historians like Josephus and Herodotus often mentioned the dark-skinned peoples of North Africa, descendants of Put, who were known for their courage and resilience. From them came traders who crossed the Sahara long before European maps existed, linking the Mediterranean to sub-Saharan Africa through ancient routes of gold and salt. The memory of Ham's family extends far beyond Africa's shores. Scholars and linguists have found cultural and linguistic traces of Kushite influence reaching into southern Arabia and even into parts of South India, echoes of a time when the world was still young and humanity shared a closer bond. Ham's story, though ancient, remains profoundly human. He witnessed the world before and after the flood. Like his brother Shem, he is said to have lived for centuries, perhaps over 600 years. During that vast lifetime, he saw his descendants multiply and spread across the earth, carrying his legacy into every generation. Though the Bible does not tell us where Ham was finally laid to rest, tradition suggests his tomb lies somewhere in Africa, perhaps in Ethiopia, Nubia, or Egypt. Each of these lands claims a piece of his story. To this day, archaeologists and historians search for clues of this primeval lineage, uncovering ruins, inscriptions, and relics that whisper of a time when faith and civilization walked hand in hand. The story of Ham and his children is not merely a tale of ancestry. It is a mirror reflecting the shared roots of humanity. So now we've learned that the origin of black people traces back to Ham, and we've also seen what the Bible reveals about their story and purpose. Tell us what you think about this in the comments below. If you learned something new from this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.